I want to start with a number, and I want you to just sit with it for a second before I tell you what it means. 20 years ago, two people each had $50,000. Person one did the responsible thing, the thing their parents told them to do, the thing that felt safe. They put it in a savings account at their bank and left it there, untouched, never risked a dollar of it, for 20 years. Person two took that same $50,000 and put it into the stock market, a boring, unremarkable index fund. Then they did something even more boring. They left it alone. 20 years later, person one has about $56,000. Person two has over $300,000. And even after you account for inflation, for the fact that a dollar today doesn't buy what it used to, that money is worth somewhere around $185,000 in today's purchasing power. Same starting amount, same 20 years. One person did the safe thing. One person did the risky thing. So let me ask you the only question that actually matters here. Which one felt safer? And, separately, which one actually was? Because those are two different questions. And I think most of us have spent our whole lives answering the first one and never asking the second. Here's the part that's going to sting a little, and I say this with a lot of love. The stock market did not do that to person one. The stock market didn't take anything from them. They never touched it. Their bank account did that. Quietly. Every single year. While they were sleeping soundly, feeling responsible, feeling like they'd done everything right. The villain in this story isn't a crash. It's not some dramatic moment where the market takes a nosedive and wipes someone out. It's the opposite. It's nothing happening at all. It's a number that never goes down. And that's exactly why nobody notices it's losing. I want to be really clear before we go any first. I want to say something that I don't think gets said enough in personal finance content. If you've kept your money in cash instead of investing it, that is not a character flaw. That is not you being bad with money. In a lot of cases, it's the most rational response to what you were taught and what you lived through. Think about who grew up watching 2008 happen, watching people lose their homes, watching the news cycle for months be nothing but foreclosures and bank failures, and people's retirement accounts cut in half overnight. If you internalized the stock market is dangerous from that, of course you did. That's not irrational. That's a completely reasonable response to a genuinely scary event. Or think about the message a lot of us got growing up. Investing is basically gambling. It's for people who are comfortable losing money. Meanwhile, a savings account was framed as the responsible, grown-up, you'll thank yourself later choice. Nobody sat most of us down and explained what a real, boring, long-term investing strategy actually looks like. So in that vacuum, keep it safe in the bank wins by default. And then there's the generational piece, which I think is honestly the biggest one. If your parents or grandparents built their retirement in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, a lot of them had pensions. Guaranteed income for life, employer-funded, no personal investment decisions required. Some of them grew up on CDs paying 5, 6, 7% interest, which, by the way, doesn't exist anymore. That world genuinely rewarded sitting in cash. That world is gone. Most of us are on our own now. 401ks, IRAs, do-it-yourself retirement. And somewhere in that handoff, an entire generation of financial wisdom got passed down that no longer matches the system we're actually operating in. Nobody updated the advice. So people are still following instructions for a game that isn't being played anymore. Which brings me to the concept I really want you to walk away from this video with, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Invisible loss. Here's what I mean. When your money sits in a savings account, the number on the screen never goes down. $50,000, $50,011, $50,020. It feels safe because it looks stable. Nothing bad is happening. That's the whole appeal. But the number didn't go down and you didn't lose anything are not the same statement. Because while that number sits there feeling stable, everything around it, the cost of groceries, rent, gas, everything you'd actually spend that money on, keeps getting more expensive. So even though your number is technically bigger than it was, what that number can actually buy you is shrinking. Every single year. Quietly. With no alert, no headline, no red down arrow to warn you. That's invisible loss. It's the most dangerous kind, because it never feels like losing. It feels like nothing happening at all. Okay, let's get into the actual math, and I promise, this is not going to be a finance lecture. Just 3 numbers. Number 1. Inflation. Historically, prices in the US rise by an average of around 3% a year. Some years less, some years more. 2022 was brutal. But 3% a year is the long-run average, and that's the number that erodes your cash. Number 2. The stock market. Specifically, something like an S&P 500 index fund, which just means a little piece of the 500 biggest companies in America, all in one investment. Over the long run, decades, not months, that has historically returned somewhere in the range of 7 to 10% a year on average. Not every year. Some years it's up 25%, some years it's down 20%. But zoom out over 20, 30 years, and that's roughly where the average lands. Number 3. Your savings account. As of right now, the national average savings account is paying under 1%, around 0.6%, according to Bankrate. Some high-yield accounts do better, and that's genuinely worth having for your emergency fund. But for most people, most of the time, cash sitting in a regular bank account is earning next to nothing. So line those 3 up. Your cash grows under 1%. Prices rise about 3%. That gap, that's not a rounding error. That gap is your money quietly losing a race it didn't know it was running. Let's make this less abstract, because 3% inflation doesn't feel like anything until you see it in your own life. Go back to 2006. Gas was averaging about $2.59 a gallon. A gallon of milk was around $3. A dozen eggs was roughly $1.50. Today, gas is averaging closer to $3.85 a gallon. Milk is pushing $4. Eggs, depending on the month, because they've been wild the last couple years, have been anywhere from $3.50 to well over $4 a dozen. Rent has done something even more dramatic. The average rent in this country has more than doubled over that same 20-year stretch. None of that happened in one dramatic moment you would have noticed. It happened a few cents at a time, year after year, so slowly that you adjusted to it without ever clocking that it was happening. That's inflation. It's not a crash. It's a tide. And if your money isn't growing faster than that tide, you are, quietly, invisibly, falling behind, even while your bank balance looks exactly the same, or even a little bigger. Now let's put a face on this, because numbers on a whiteboard are easy to nod along to, and then forget by tomorrow. I want you to meet Linda. Linda isn't one specific person. She's a composite, a mix of a lot of stories I've heard that all rhyme with each other. But everything about her situation is true to how this actually plays out. Linda is in her early 60s now. Back in her early 40s, she had $50,000 saved up. Money she was genuinely proud of. Money she'd worked hard for. She'd lived through 2008. She watched friends lose huge chunks of their retirement accounts almost overnight, and it terrified her. So she made a decision that felt, at the time, like the smartest and most mature thing she could do. She put that $50,000 into a savings account, and she left it there. For 20 years. Untouched, safe, never risked. Here's where Linda is today. That $50,000 grew, slowly, to around $56,000. On paper, that looks like a win. She has more dollars than she started with. But once you adjust for 20 years of rising prices, those $56,000 can only buy what about $31,000 would have bought back when she started. Her safe money didn't just fail to grow. In real, usable terms, it lost more than a third of its value, while she was doing everything she thought was responsible. Now imagine a version of Linda who took that same $50,000 and, instead, put it into a simple S&P 500 index fund and left it alone for the same 20 years. No trading, no trying to be clever, just leaving it there through every bit of noise the market threw at her. At a historical average return, that $50,000 would have grown to somewhere around $335,000. Even after adjusting for the exact same 20 years of inflation that ate away at her savings account, that's still worth roughly $185,000 in real, today's dollars purchasing power. Same woman, same starting amount, same 20 years. One decision, where to put it, and the difference between those two outcomes is well over $150,000 in real value. I don't tell you that to make Linda feel foolish, and I really don't want you to hear it and feel foolish either if this is your story too. Linda made a completely understandable, deeply human decision based on real fear and the information she had at the time. This video exists so that you don't have to find this out the way she did, 20 years later, looking back. Now, I have to address the fear directly, because if I don't, none of this lands. You're probably thinking, okay, but the market crashes. I've seen it happen. 2008, 2020, 2022. That's real. That's not made up. And you're right. It is real. I am not going to sit here and tell you the market only goes up, because that would be a lie, and I don't do that here. Here's what's also true, though. Those crashes, as scary as they are in the moment, have always, historically, been followed by recoveries. 2008 was devastating, and the market fully recovered and went on to new highs within a few years. 2020 saw one of the fastest, scariest drops in history, and one of the fastest recoveries in history months later. The investors who got hurt badly in those moments were, overwhelmingly, the ones who panicked and sold at the bottom, turning a temporary paper loss into a permanent real one. The investors who did nothing, who just stayed put, came out the other side fine, often better than fine. That's the actual skill here, and it's a strange one to call a skill because it looks like doing nothing. Staying invested through the scary parts, not timing it perfectly, not predicting the crash and jumping out right before it happens. Nobody, including professional fund managers with entire teams and supercomputers, can reliably do that. The goal was never to time the market. The goal is time in the market. So practically, what does this actually look like? I'm not going to tell you to go pick individual stocks or try to find the next big thing. The boring answer is genuinely the best one for almost everyone. A low-cost index fund, something that just tracks the overall market instead of betting on one company. And instead of trying to find the perfect moment to invest a big lump sum, which creates so much anxiety that people just freeze and never start, you invest a set amount on a regular schedule. Every month, every paycheck, whatever fits your life. It's called dollar cost averaging, and all it really means is you buy in consistently through the ups and the downs, and you stop trying to be a fortune teller about what the market will do next week. You let time and consistency do the work instead of trying to be clever. That's it. That's the strategy that turned Linda's alternate $50,000 into $300,000. Not brilliance, not perfect timing, just showing up and staying put. I want to zoom back out because I don't want you to walk away from this thinking it's about getting rich. It's not. This was never about becoming a millionaire or retiring on a yacht. It's about something much more basic and honestly much more important. Not quietly falling behind while it feels like you're standing perfectly still. Here's the sentence I want you to actually remember from this whole video. Doing nothing is not neutral. It feels neutral. It feels like the safe, cautious, wait-and-see choice. But it isn't a pause button. It's a decision, just like any other one. And like every decision, it has a price tag attached to it. You just don't get handed the receipt for 20 years. So let's reframe the fear, because I think it's been pointed at the wrong thing this whole time. The volatility of the market, the ups and downs, the scary red months, the headlines. That's not a bug. That's not the market being untrustworthy. That volatility is the price of admission for growth. It's the toll you pay for your money actually having a chance to outrun inflation instead of quietly losing to it. Meanwhile, the stability of cash, the thing that feels so safe precisely because the number never drops, that stability is, in its own way, a loss. Just a slow one, a guaranteed one. One with no dramatic headline, no red arrow, nothing that ever forces you to notice it. It just happens. So go back to the number I opened with. $50,000, 20 years, 2 people. One ends up with $56,000 that can only buy what $31,000 used to buy. The other ends up with real, inflation-adjusted purchasing power of around $185,000. Same starting point, same amount of time passing either way, because time was going to pass regardless of what either of them decided. The only real question was ever what that time was going to do for their money, or to it. So here's what I'd actually love for you to do after this video, and it's not complicated. Go look. Actually check where your savings are sitting right now. How much is in cash and what it's actually earning. Not what it's supposed to earn, not what you assume. The real number on your real statement. For a lot of people, this is the first time they've ever actually looked. If what you find is exactly what we talked about today, a big pile of cash that's basically earning nothing while it quietly loses ground, that's not a reason to panic, and it's definitely not a reason to feel behind or embarrassed. Linda's story doesn't have to be your story from here forward. You just found out something today that a lot of people never do. If you want the practical next step, how to actually start, even if it's with a small amount, even if all of this still feels intimidating, I've got a video that walks through exactly how to start investing with as little as $100, no jargon, no assumed experience. I'll leave it right there for you. Take care of that money. It's been waiting on you.